So it's finally time for me to weigh in on Shadow of the Tomb Raider. What are my final thoughts about this game? Before we get into it, guys, there will be some light spoilers in this video, so if you haven't played the game already, just be warned. You might want to go play it, enjoy it, come back, and then we can talk about what we agree and disagree about when it comes to this game. I think my biggest issue, guys, is the pacing of the game. Now, look, I understand these games. I understand there's collectibles, there's challenge tombs. This has been the formula for this entire reboot. I totally get it. But the pacing of this one versus the other two, in my opinion, is just off by a landslide. And I'll explain my reasoning for that as we get into the video. First things first, right? The beginning of the game, they're doing a really good job of building up the tension between Lara and Jonah. I really enjoyed that. I really liked that. There came a point where you finally get the artifact and some world events starts happening, some nature type stuff starts happening, and they're putting all that guilt on Lara, and then she's still hunting, right, for treasure, seeking that next path, if you will. And Jonah is more worried about the, carnage and death and stuff that's happening as a result of Lara taking this artifact. And I thought that's cool. That's a cool way to build up that tension between these two characters. And they were doing a really good job of that. And then you finally get to a portion in the game where you meet the people at the hidden city. Okay, if you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. The game world really opens up a lot there. Tons of side missions, which I have no problem with. Lots of stuff to collect. I do have a problem with that. I'll get to that at the end of this video. But the game opens up and you get introduced to new characters, right? Quite a few new characters. And Jonah and Lara, the tension that's being built between these two characters, it kind of goes on the back burner, right? It's still there. They still hint at it. But because you're focused on all these other characters, and then depending on which side missions you do, you get to interact with these characters a little bit more. I felt like they just ruined it. Now, granted, by the end of the game, they try to bring it back. They try to bring that tension back. But by then, for me, guys, it was too late. Right? I had spent so much time in the hidden city doing all the things that by the time I got back on the main story path again, I just didn't care anymore. I was like, I just want to see credits. I really did feel that way. And that's a shame when you feel that way about a video game, when you just want to see credits for the sake of seeing credits. And if I'm honest with you guys, that's how I felt. Now, that's twofold, right? There's two reasons for that. One, I do feel like they had some issues with the game itself. Number two, I was doing a lot of trophy hunting, doing a lot of side missions and questing, and I was recording, but that doesn't help either. So I get it, right? But since I played it back through on Deadly Obsession, I was saying to myself, well, what if I would have got here to the hidden city and just progressed the story naturally, just kept on going, right? Just main story points. It does flow better. It does keep that tension a little bit more because you're not doing a lot of the stuff in the hidden city. You're just progressing the storyline. But then I was like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of a Tomb Raider game, right? The adventure, the will to want to explore should be fun, right? The side missions should be fun. They should be enjoyable. They should be something that I look forward to doing. And I think that's where I have a problem with this game. I think fundamentally I don't have a problem with the hidden city and the fact that it opens up and there's a ton of stuff to do. But it's like the stuff was so boring and mind numbing by the time I did it all and then got back on the main storyline. I just didn't care anymore about her and Jonah and that tension that had been built up. And, I started to not like the people at the hidden city. You know what I mean? Because I felt like I was spending too much time here. So it's kind of that catch-22 moment where you want to explore, but you're bored while you do it. If you don't explore, you feel like, well, what am I really playing a Tomb Raider game for then, right? If all this stuff is just not fun. Now, look, it's all subjective. You guys might have had a blast in the hidden city doing all the stuff. I get it. We'll have to just agree to disagree on that. Personally, for me, the activities in the hidden city were just not that fun. Before that, they were great. After that, of course, you get into a lot of combat and chopper fights and stuff like that. That was fun to me. But everything in that middle portion of the game right there at the hidden city, to me, just felt very, very bloated. Aside from that, the rest of the game played out fine. The combat's great, music, the graphics, and all that kind of stuff, except for Lara Croft's character model. When I first got the game, I said, something just feels weird about her facial expressions or her face in general. And I'm not coming at this thing from like a beauty standpoint. I'm not judging her on her appearance in that way. Because I understand that with new technology, they do, more polygons and stuff like that for the character models. It just didn't feel like Lara, right? And I went online when I first got the game and looked, and a lot of people were saying the same thing. Yeah, feels like she had a lot more, maybe detail is not the right word, but her character model, her facial expressions and stuff look better in Rise of the Tomb Raider than in the current build for her character model. So that's really the only issue I had with the graphics, if you will. Everything else was fine. Like again, the music, the sound effects, the combat, like I said, all that stuff played out well. I just felt like the pacing was off, and that's so important to me. I should be able to start the game, play through, do all the stuff in an area. If I want to collect everything, now granted in this game you can't collect everything right away. You have to get weapons and upgrades and stuff to be able to come back and do stuff later, but you get my point. I should be able to do like 90% of everything in the area and not be bored with it, and then move to the next area, do the same thing, not be bored with it, go to the next area. I don't care if there's 10 side quests, do them all, be happy about it, move to the next one, and still feel the flow of the game. It shouldn't feel like everything just stops. And that's what it felt like for me when I got to the Hidden City. It felt like I was playing an expansion, like a DLC. It just didn't feel like it should be a part of the regular storyline, if that makes sense. And I understand they had to bring in those characters because they did have to bring in that element of the story, but I think they could have done that in a much cleaner fashion than all the bloat they had at the Hidden City. Maybe they take all that bloat and space it out throughout the entirety of the game, so that it doesn't feel such like a chore when you get there. Maybe that works. So maybe I'm not really saying they should have got rid of the content. They should have just spaced it out a little bit better, maybe. I don't know. It's the same problem I had with Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. When you got to, I want to say it's like chapter 4, when it opens up into that like open world feel for the game, and there's like so much stuff to do. Before and after that, the game has a pretty good pace. But for that one particular chapter, it is horrible if you're collecting everything. Now, of course, if you just go through that chapter 4 in Uncharted: Lost Legacy straight through, then the flow is there. But then again, that kind of defeats the purpose of treasure hunting and doing all the things. So I kind of felt conflicted playing this game. It's like, I want to do the side stuff, but I'm bored. But if I don't do it, well, I'm not really Lara. I'm not really being a Tomb Raider. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my issue with this game. And again, the formula has been the same for all 3 games, but I just felt like the first and second one just did a better job with the flow of it all. But that could just be me. Other than that, guys, it's a solid game. Am I happy that I spent my $60 on it? Yeah. It's not one of those games that like, oh, I wish I would have got it for 20. It's not worth 60. Totally worth 60. And I'm having a lot of fun with Deadly Obsession, challenging myself. It is annoying, but at least it's not a permadeath type situation. I feel like with the Deadly Obsession mode, your main problem is going to be platforming, because you can die real easy if you don't have certain skills on, because you have to hit the square prompt so fast or you'll fall off the ledge. And then the runbacks are incredible sometimes, because you can't save unless you get to a campsite, and sometimes you're going to run back. I don't know, it could take 20 or 30 minutes. And then if you die, it's going to be another 20 or 30 minutes. It could take hours to get from one campsite to the next, depending on the portion of the game that you're in. That's a little bit annoying, but again, that's not the make or break for me. It's the conflict I felt as a player playing this game. I want to do this stuff, but it's not going to be fun, right? And then of course, when you add on the fact that I'm a trophy hunter, well, now I have to do all this stuff, because I have to get this trophy, and it's something that I don't want to do. And that brings me back to the whole collectible thing. I wish these games would stop with these 200-300 plus collectibles, guys. I know it's a semi-open world environment, and you want to have stuff to dig up out of the ground and chest to loot, but geez, man, like, I just wish there was like 50 collectibles in this game, and they were hard to get and hard to find. and that be it. Same way with like Uncharted, right? I'm cool with the Uncharted games having 100 collectibles because it is a linear experience, but it'd just be cool if it had like 20 and they were just hard to find, right? It'd be tougher to do with a linear game, but I think you get my point. I think Fallout does it well. Fallout is an open world game, but with their bobbleheads, there's what, 20 or 30 of those, and they're just hard to find. And I think that's what I prefer, would have preferred in Tomb Raider. In all the reboot games, right? Just give me 20 or 30 collectibles, make them extremely tough to find, and then let that be it. I just don't find it to be fun, guys, to run and collect 200-300 items off the ground. It's not fun for me. Going into the map, you know, is atrocious in this game. There should be like a little mini radar that tells you where stuff is, or at least an option to turn that on or off. So that's really my biggest gripes with the game. But overall, it was a good game. It was a solid game. I just don't think it was as good as Rise of the Tomb Raider. That's my opinion. But you guys can let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Talk to you guys then. Be good.